You found a flight for $89. Perfect. Exactly what you were looking for. You clicked it. Then you picked a seat. The free ones were all middle seats between strangers, so you paid $24 for a window. Then came the bag. Carry-on, $35. Then the travel insurance you weren't sure you needed, but weren't sure you didn't. Then the airport transfer upsell. Then the meal option. By the time you hit confirm, the $89 flight cost $214. And somewhere in the process, you stopped questioning it because each individual charge was presented as a choice, a small and reasonable one, and by the time you saw the total, you'd already mentally committed to the trip. That's not a series of unfortunate add-ons. That's a pricing architecture designed by people who studied exactly where your resistance breaks down and built the checkout flow around it. The airline didn't lose control of the price. It hid the real price on purpose and showed it to you one piece at a time, because research shows that's the most effective way to get you to pay it. Walmart hid its manipulation in the layout of a building. Amazon hid it behind a button. The airline hid it inside a number, that clean, low, beautiful number that made you click in the first place. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly how the machine works, from the moment the price appears on your screen to the moment the doors close and you realize you're trapped. Let's start with the number itself. The $89 fare is real. It exists. It is also almost never what you'll pay, because it was designed from the beginning to be a starting point, not a price. The airline industry pioneered something called unbundling, the practice of stripping a product down to its absolute minimum and then charging separately for every component that used to be included. A seat on a plane once meant a seat, a bag, and a meal. Now it means a seat. Everything else is an individual transaction, each one presented as optional, each one priced at the exact point where most people decide it's easier to pay than to go without. The genius of unbundling is what it does to your perception. You compare that $89 to a competitor's $130 all-in fare, and the $89 wins, because your brain evaluates the headline number. By the time you've added everything you actually need, you've spent more than the competitor's fare, but you never made that comparison directly, because the charges came one at a time, each one feeling like a small, separate decision rather than part of a total. The technical term for this is drip pricing. The real price drips out across the checkout flow, piece by piece, each drip small enough to accept until you reach a total you never would have agreed to upfront. Studies on drip pricing have found that consumers consistently spend more this way than they would if shown the true total at the start. The airlines know this. The pricing strategy exists because it works. Now, let's talk about the seat selection screen, because it is one of the most psychologically loaded pages on the internet. You open it, and the plane appears rows of seats color-coded by price. The expensive seats glow at the front, comfortable and spacious. The middle of the plane has mid-range options. And then there are the free seats, scattered at the back, almost all of them middle seats, wedged between two strangers, near the bathroom. They're free. You could choose one, but the screen is designed so that choosing the free seat feels like a punishment, and paying feels like the rational escape. The paid seats aren't just better, they're surrounded by other paid seats, presented in warm colors, labeled with words like preferred and extra comfort. The free seats are presented in gray or muted tones, visually isolated, implicitly coded as the option for people who have no other choice. This is the same anchor pricing trick from the supermarket, applied to a seat map. The $180 business class seats aren't there just for the passengers who buy them. They're there to make $45 look reasonable by comparison. You were never really being offered a free seat. You were being shown a free seat to make you pay for a better one, because the difference in experience was engineered to be just uncomfortable enough that paying feels like relief rather than expense. And then there's the bag. The checked bag fee, the carry-on fee, the fee for a bag that's 1 centimeter over the limit at the gate. This system was invented in 2008 by Spirit Airlines when fuel prices spiked and they needed revenue without raising headline fares. It worked so well that every major airline copied it within years. American Airlines alone collect billions in bag fees annually, billions in revenue that technically doesn't exist if you only look at the ticket price. But the bag fee does something subtler than just charge you money. It changes your behavior in ways that benefit the airline. When people pay for checked bags, they bring more carry-ons. When everyone brings carry-ons, the overhead bins fill up, and passengers who board late are forced to check their bags at the gate, often for a higher fee than if they'd checked it at home. The chaos this creates benefits the boarding group system, which we'll get to in a moment. The bag policy doesn't just make money directly, it creates the conditions for further monetization downstream. Now, boarding groups. You have a ticket. Everyone has a ticket. You all paid to be on this plane. And yet, the airline has created a social hierarchy within the departure gate that generates real anxiety and real revenue. Group 1 boards first, plenty of overhead space. No rushing, no stress. Group 5 boards last bin space gone. Possible gate check. The low-level humiliation of shuffling to your middle seat while everyone watches. This system costs the airline almost nothing to implement. But the anxiety it creates, the very real fear of boarding late, losing bin space, being that person is worth hundreds of millions per year in people paying to upgrade their boarding group. You're not paying for the early boarding itself. You're paying to escape the discomfort of being last. The airline manufactured the discomfort specifically, so you would pay to escape it. The same logic applies to the seat at the emergency exit row. More legroom, which you want. But the airline restricts it. You must confirm you're willing to assist in an emergency, which makes it feel scarce and earned, and therefore worth paying for. When in reality, the airline needs people in those seats regardless, and the restriction is mostly theater designed to justify the premium. Once you're on the plane, the pricing architecture follows you. The food and drink on board are priced at margins that would be impossible anywhere else, because they're possible here. You are sealed inside a vehicle at 35,000 feet. There is no competition. There is no alternative. The coffee is $4, not because coffee costs $4, but because you have no other option, and your willingness to pay is effectively unlimited compared to nothing. Economists call this a captive market, and the airline exploits it completely. Because why wouldn't it? You're not going anywhere. Even the entertainment system participates. The free movies are fine. The good ones, the new releases, the ones you actually want, often cost extra. The Wi-Fi is priced not at what it costs to provide, but at what a person sealed in a metal tube for 6 hours will agree to pay for access to the outside world. The ceiling on captive market pricing is not cost. It's desperation. And then there's the loyalty program, the most sophisticated lock-in mechanism in the consumer industry, and the piece of the machine most people never see clearly because it's disguised as a gift. Miles feel like a reward. Every flight earns you points, and points eventually become free flights, upgrades, priority boarding. You feel like the airline is giving you something back. But here's what's actually happening. The loyalty program is changing your behavior, not rewarding it. You start choosing this airline even when a competitor is cheaper, because switching would mean losing your miles, your status, your priority boarding that lets you escape the anxiety of Group 5. You've been locked in not by force, but by the slow accumulation of a currency that only has value inside one ecosystem. The miles are real, the reward is real, but the primary function was always to make leaving feel like a financial loss, even when staying costs you more. The credit card that earns you miles does the same thing at a larger scale. Spend on the card, earn miles, stay loyal. The airline has turned your everyday spending groceries, restaurants, gas into a mechanism for deepening your commitment to them. You're not earning a reward. You're being woven more tightly into a system that profits from your loyalty far more than you do from the miles. Let's go all the way back. You found a flight for $89. The unbundled price hid the real cost behind a headline number designed to make you click. The drip pricing revealed each charge one at a time, each small enough to accept in isolation. The seat map turned a free option into a punishment and made paying feel like escape. The bag fees restructured your behavior and created downstream revenue. The boarding groups manufactured social anxiety worth hundreds of millions in upgrade fees. The captive environment on board removed all competition from food, drink, and Wi-Fi. And the loyalty program wove you so deeply into one airline's ecosystem that leaving felt worse than staying, even when staying cost more. $214. A window seat, one bag, and the quiet, lingering feeling that you'd made a series of reasonable choices. Here's what's worth sitting with. The airline industry operates on margins so thin that most years, most airlines, barely break even on actually flying people. The profit, the real, reliable, structural profit, comes from the fees, the loyalty programs, the credit card partnerships, the captive market sales at 35,000 feet. The flying itself is almost incidental. What the airline is actually selling is a series of escalating transactions wrapped around the one thing you can't do without: getting from one place to another. That's why the $89 fare exists, not to fly you cheaply, to get you into the funnel. The moment you click that number, the machine begins. And it doesn't stop until the doors close and the last transaction is complete. And you're looking out the window seat you paid $24 for, wondering, just slightly, how you ended up spending $214 on an $89 flight. But now you've seen it. And the next time a number appears on a flight search that seems almost too good, some clear part of your brain is going to whisper, I see what you're doing. The blueprint is everywhere. The store, the casino, the app, the furniture store, the flight. Show you the price you want to see, add the real cost one piece at a time, and make every step feel like your own reasonable decision. We take them apart one by one. So if you'd rather see the system than be moved by it, you already know what to do.